Good evening, and I welcome you to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. My name is Emmanuel Wilsonjnr, your regular host and the chief crusader against corruption here in Ghana. It's always exciting to come your way every Monday just around this time because we get the opportunity to interact and discuss matters of national interest. And most importantly, we also discuss how to secure the future of this country, not just for our sake, even for the benefit of those the next generation that is even yet unborn. This evening, we're going to have another interactive session as we've always been doing. And our concentration tonight is going to be on religion. We are going to discuss a bit more about religion in this country. Religion is one of the key concepts that shape human thoughts patterns and helps to shape perspectives for societies. It has so many times influenced mankind, led to many discoveries and conquests, and also uplifted the hearts of billions of people around the world. It is one of the key drivers of state policies, concepts, laws, constitutional composition, and some other cultural and economic pursuits. The reality is, some religious leaders have become semi-gods. They are now the drivers of the thoughts of millions of people and can twist narratives at any given time. Politicians have understood this and are dining with these religious leaders to be able to garner votes for their faithful. We have a religiously driven voting pattern because we tend to see people believe that if a presumed believer or fellow faith member is in the seat of government, things will be better for us. And it is the opposite. Ghana is a very religious country, and all of us are aware of that. This situation has led to our population being driven not by science and technology, but by religious beliefs. Many of them cannot stand the test of science. We have more worship centers in Ghana than schools across the country. We have people building mighty edifices while their neighborhoods lack good learning facilities. Even schools in their hometowns are abandoned. And if you ask them, they blame governments. We tend to be more interested in religious migrations for pilgrims than in advancing the younger generation for better learning and scholarships, which has the propensity to yield more fruits in the long run. We have more religious societies, yet we have more corrupt governments compared to any country around the world. Religion has brought many crises in Ghana and Africa as a whole. It has separated many families and societies and brought struggles and dominance. Some fanatics have used it to preach hate, and this has led to a lack of mistrust among their people. Although it has some significant positive aspects, looking at what is happening in Ghana today. The politicization of religion in Ghana represents a serious challenge to the country's democratic values and national peace. While religion will always remain an important part of Ghanaian life, it is vital that the country preserves its secular political system and ensure that religious institutions remain independent from partisan politics. Historically, religious institutions have provided moral guidance and supported community development efforts without necessarily intruding into the political sphere. However, the increasing intertwining of religion and politics in recent years raises serious concerns about its implications for Ghana's democratic future. And aside the political aspects, we're also looking at the ethical, social, and the cultural aspects, the impact that religion has made as far as building our nation is concerned. And that's why this evening, the main question we'll be asking you as you get interactive with us is looking at the social, cultural, and ethical contributions of religion. Do you think Ghana would be better if there was no religion? That's the question we are asking you. As always, get interactive with us using our social media platform, particularly the WhatsApp line as exhibited on the screen. We are going to take a commercial break, a very quick one. And when we come back, I'm going to introduce to you a very important guest that we have this evening to help us understand this issue relating to religion. Stay tuned, I'll be right back.
If a cry na menyisika, edia ye mefui.
Ehifa pa na menya bosia, edia tre medjuma yimu.
Kai kra mabre, ni busia ato taxi fufu. Suhum Rural Bank.
Suhum Rural Bank.
Yemamwa kwa baba Suhum Rural Bank. Ye won hye ahodo bi te se dwadifo abosia, ekokro bosia, susu account. And it does our hot savings account. Me bada chain savings account. And the keka home. Suhum Rural Bank was 03422919896. Now one so to miaka say.
Suhum Rural Bank. Ama ene mayeka una.
Suhum Rural Bank. Enti me pa minie.
Suhum Rural Bank. Growing our heritage.
Welcome back. As I indicated to you earlier on, we are going to have a conversation on religion. And the topic for this evening's conversation is religion as a catalyst for nation building, exploring its social, cultural, and ethical contributions. I want to take you through some 2 or 3 slides as a preparatory ground before I introduce to you this, our guests for this evening. So, as I indicated, that is the topic we are going to have this evening. Ghana's population, if you look at it, tells you that the last census that we had a population approximately 35.06 million people in this country. We have the urban population around 58.6%. And then we have the average age or the median age being 21.3 years. And that indicates that we have a youthful demographic, or if you look at the population. Now, if you look at the religious demography per the 2021 census, Christianity constitutes 71.3%. And under Christianity, we have the Pentecostal and the Charismatic constituting 31.6%, other Protestants constituting 17.4%, Catholic 10.0%, and then the other Christians constituting 12.3%. That is the first religion majority of Ghanaians belong to. That's Christianity. The second religion, which all of us know, is the Islamic religion. Now, if you look at the Islamic religion, we have 3 or 4 groups. The Sunni, I hope I'm pronouncing it well, constitutes 51%. The Ahmadiyas constitute 16%. The Shia constitute 8%. And then the other non-denominational constitute 25%. So that is also the composition of the Islamic religion. Then we have the traditional faith, or the ones that we mostly would describe as the faith belonging to our forefathers. We have the 3.2 of Ghana's population belonging to that faith. And then those that says they don't have any religion. I'm not sure whether all of them believe that God doesn't exist. But the fact that you don't have a religion doesn't necessarily mean that you don't believe God doesn't exist. But all others who do not associate themselves with any of the 3 religions that we've talked about, they constitute 1.1%. Now, if you look at religion in itself, the fundamental focus of religious teachings in helping build a nation encompasses 3 areas. First is to promote unity, encourage civic responsibility, strengthen social fabric. That is the teachings that we all expect the religion that we've gone through to, focus on. Then after, we also look at the role of religion in nation building. They serve as moral compass, conflict resolution, cultural identity, and community development. That is that. There's one aspect of it which is of so much interest to me, and that has to do with the role of religion in curbing corruption. Religion, when practiced genuinely and ethically, can be a powerful tool in the fight against corruption. Because 1, it is supposed to instill moral and ethical values. It's supposed to shape leadership ethics, public advocacy and accountability, encouraging civic responsibility, and providing social services ethically. That is the first aspect of it. The second aspect of it Okay, so that's it. Then we come to the very last one, which I want you to also look at, and that has to do with the challenges that religion over the past years seems to have presented or imposed. You know, the first one has to do with the perception that most individuals that engage in religious activities exhibit, you know, a trait known as hypocrisy. And it says that if religious leaders or institutions are themselves corrupt, their credibility will surely suffer. So that is the perception out there. The second one, which for me is something that over this past, you know, I would say probably the last 3 elections that we've had in this country, general elections that we've had in this country, we have seen it so strongly. And that has to do with the politicization of religion. When religion is co-opted for political gain, its ability to confront corruption is weakened. And so this is just a brief of it. This evening, as I indicated to you, we are so privileged to have with us one man that personally I respect so much, I follow so much, I learned so much from. This is a man, when the flyer went out, the first comment I got from the flyer was that from a very, you know, respectable person in this country. What he said to me was that this man, and I'm going to quote him, this is one of Ghana's fine brains within the religious circles. And I really agree to that. I mean, he needs no further introduction. But to say that I am privileged to let you know that he is also a board member of Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana. And that I'm so privileged to have him as one of the board members that steers the affairs of Crusaders Against Corruption. I'm making reference to your own, my own, our own, Bishop Dr. Samuel Mensah. Bishop, welcome to Politics and Beyond.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel.
It's such a privilege to have you.
Well, finally, I'm happy I've been able
Finally,
to.
that is the word, because we've been talking about this for a very long time.
Indeed.
And I think most of the time, I would take the blame because I do give you very short notice.
That's true.
You have always communicated to me your willingness and how eager you want to be on the platform.
That's true.
So I'm happy that today we've had opportunity to be here.
I'm happy I'm here.
That's
yes.
right. Bishop, so today we are talking about religion as a catalyst for nation building. We are looking at it broadly. We are looking at the social, the cultural, the ethical contributions that religion has done or given to us. First and foremost, when we talk of religion, what exactly are we talking about?
Well, I think, Emmanuel, in the first place, I would say that I think for the purpose of these discussions, you are using the word religion.
Yes.
But Christianity is not a religion.
Very well.
And I would want to make it reasonably plain. Christianity is not a religion. Christianity is a way of life.
Okay.
And religion consists of do's and don'ts. Don't do this, and do that. So you follow some set of rules. And when you don't do that, you feel guilty about it. But Christianity is a way of life where the life of Christ is reflected through you. But I'm sure that I will admit, for the purpose of these discussions, we will just accept the terminology of religion that consists of both the Christian faith and the Muslim faith. But that is what I will explain, that true Christianity is not religion. Because religion is you trying to appease a holy God. But Christianity is God reaching out to mankind. And where God really comes to you, wherever you find yourself, and transform you. And religion is you trying to make God look good. But Christianity is God reaching out to you to bring transformation into your life.
With this explanation, can we then say that in the Old Testament, they were practicing religion? Because that we recall that they had the 10 Commandments, the do's and the don'ts.
Right.
And indeed, even in the New Testament, we still have the do's and the don'ts.
Yes, and that is why Christ said all the laws have been put together into one: love for God and love your neighbor as yourself. And so a love for God constitutes, the first part of the 10 Commandments. Love for your neighbor constitutes the second part. So he said all the the 10 commandments are rooted in these two principles, a love for God and a love for mankind.
Okay.
So you cannot express yourself as being a believer without showing love for humanity, because we have been born to fulfill a purpose, and that purpose is to satisfy, do whatever you have to do to bring honor to God, and also to make sure that you improve the lives of people by love for people.
Okay, so then that is clear. Just like you said, and I'll go with that. For the purposes of this platform, we are putting Christianity, Islam, traditional believers, and the other ones, all under the umbrella of religion.
Exactly, that's fine.
So, Doc, the first question, or one of the questions that comes into mind, is that over this past period, we've had religion. We confidently describe ourselves as a religious country.
Yeah.
When we talk of religion, if you look at the population that we talked about, 71% constitutes Christianity. Christians are supposed to lead the way. 19% constitutes Islam. Their teachings also says that they are supposed to lead the way. Just about 1 or 2% are outside that. Where we are as a country, what it simply means is that almost everyone that gets the opportunity to lead this country can find him or herself under any of these umbrellas. Do you think religion has really helped us as a country, looking at our current state?
That is quite an interesting question. We are a religious country, yet it hasn't reflected in the way we do things as citizens. Nations that will not be described as religious, you can see that things are working, institutions are working, laws are working, and they don't pray as much as we do.
Yes.
Japan don't pray as much as we do, like, all as much as African nations do. India or perhaps Malaysia, they don't pray as much as we do. Yet, they are far developed and far advanced. And those of us who claim we are religious nations, we are marking time in life. I have come to conclude one thing, that what common sense can do for you, prayers will not do that for you.
That's an interesting one. Can you please repeat that?
What common sense can do for you, prayers will not do that for you. Unfortunately, we have allied ourselves, or we think that everything should be fixed by problems, and we think that the problems of our nations are spiritual. But the problems of our nations are not spiritual. The problems of our nations are common sense problems, just common sense problems. Unfortunately, we sometimes think that every problem has to be solved by prayers. But prayer alone cannot fix the problems of society. Because God in his wisdom has given us the common sense to fix our problems. So, the symbol of prayer is putting your hands together. One hand represents, the right hand represents divinity, the left hand represents humanity. If you put that together, you need both divinity and humanity to solve the issues of life. And Paul made a very powerful, strong statement in Ephesians 3:20. He said, unto him who is able to do more than we can think, imagine, dream, and ask. Now, the power of asking is prayer. Now, beyond prayer, he said, imagine. Use your imagination. Think beyond what you can imagine about, and dream. Unfortunately, we have denied ourselves of all these three major elements: the power to imagine, the power to be innovative, the power to dream, and then we think that prayer alone will fix our problem. And unfortunately, that is what the pulpit seems to project.
That's right.
So instead of allowing people to think, to be creative, to be innovative, we think everything is impossible. Everything must be prayer. But that is not what God instituted and established, the principles of Christian faith to be. In addition to prayer, think. to solve the problems of our society. So, yes, we have a lot of Christians, the majority are Christians, yet it does not seem to reflect in the way we do things. The pulpit must be responsible for where we find ourselves. Yeah. How come people's lives have not been transformed? It's because people are not, they become what the pulpit produces. Right. So they are a reflection of the pulpit. Okay, the pew is a reflection of the pulpit. Until we begin to analyze and we change the way we share the gospel, and then we bring the principles to bear, we have a long way to go.
This is really an interesting one. What strikes me is the issue of common sense.
Yeah.
What common sense can do for you, prayers cannot do for you.
Absolutely.
Does it mean that the pulpits, the religious platforms, has failed to instill common sense in the people?
You see, throughout the principles of scriptures, we have been taught to adopt the person of Christ. He's the way, the truth, the life, the good shepherd. That is the person of Christ. And we have rejected the principles of Christ. The principles of Christ is where he introduced the kingdom principles. He gave us principles of the talents, where you learn how to observe. And the principles of Christ talk about time management, setting a vision, hard work, planning your life, making sure that whatever you do, you hold people responsible, you are accountable, you are transparent in all the things you do. So we are talking about skills that can develop humanity. Unfortunately, the church has adopted the person of Christ and has downplayed the principles that enhances human development, the principles that promotes human life, the principles that brings development to humanity. We have downplayed those principles, and we think it is the person of Christ alone that can bring transformation in our country. Now, the nations that were the cradle of religion, that is Israel, the Middle East, and if you look at these two nations, they are highly religious, but they are highly developed. Why? Because they have accepted the person and they are applying the principles.
Right.
The only nation that has combined both religion and industry together is the United States. They are highly religious in the way they project things about their faith. But when it comes to productivity and national development, they are one of the highly developed nations in the world. Why? Because they have applied the principles of vision setting, management, development, things that allow basic management principles are all rooted in the scriptures. Unfortunately, we have downplayed those things, and so we have only just accepted the person of Christ, and that is the major challenges we are having. Because we are not time conscious in what we do. We don't have a vision that drives us as a society. We don't even have a national vision that drives us.
That's right.
We don't have values that drives us. So all these things are part of the principles that we have downplayed. And these nations I have outlined, I've given you as examples, they are being driven by kingdom principles. And for principles, they would work, whether for a religious nation or a non-religious nation. Principles are principles. Said, without vision, a man perishes. Without a vision, a nation perishes. Right. So where there is no vision, people perish. If you don't know where you are going, Dubai has over 30 years vision, they fulfilled it. They set another 20-year vision, they have achieved it. They have transformed a desert into a major city worldwide today. Why? It's because of the principles. Our biggest problem is our lack of principles, which basically has affected our national development as a society. Hence, our institutions are not also functioning well.
The principles we're talking about, where is it supposed to emanate from? Because it is this, you see, the reason why I'm trying to link religion to nation building is the fact that if you look at the statistics, everyone who is supposed to be in charge of nation building, in other words, anyone who is supposed to be part of government at any given point in time, finds him or herself under any of the umbrellas.
That is true. Yeah.
So if they go out there and they don't have the principles you're talking about, they don't have the vision you're talking about, they don't have the common sense we're talking about, and it is so clear that religious leaders have a strong way of impacting on citizens, because the citizens are their members. And citizens, as a religious country as we are, citizens will really want to adhere to what their religious leaders will tell them.
Right.
So if the country is lacking common sense, the country is lacking principles, are we blaming the leaders who are managing the economy or who are supposed to build the nation, or we are blaming the religious sector or system?
I think it's a combination of all, because if we look at what we are having right now, the political leaders we have are coming from the society.
That's right.
And if they are coming from the society, they also have roots in the religious organizations.
Very true.
So definitely, they are product of the society. They are product of their religious belief system. Now, if we don't teach people that, listen, have a connection with God, beyond that, you must have a plan for your life. You must have goals for your life. You should have a vision as to what you want to do. You should be disciplined. You should learn how to do hard work. And you will have to be time conscious. If these things are not part of our culture, definitely we will produce lazy Christians. We will produce lazy religious folks who definitely wouldn't be able to achieve much. The same Ghanaian, when he leaves the shores of Ghana, and he gets into Dubai or gets into US or get to any developed nations, he abides with the laws that governs them. And these laws definitely emanate from the principles of the scriptures. You see? So the question is, how come he leaves these shores of Ghana, and once he gets to America, he will not stand by the roadside and urinate? He wouldn't just litter around anyhow. Why? Because there are systems that are working, and people are ensuring that those systems are working. And until we make sure that we have leadership, because everything rises and falls on leadership, until we have leaders who will ensure that systems will work, we will pray and pray and pray and pray, and God himself will be shocked and surprised about our behavior. That, I have given them common sense to, in addition to the prayer, to apply this common sense, and they are not using it. And they think that they are praying so that I will fix all the problems for them. Unfortunately, that is not going to happen. The leaders must ensure that the systems are working. So if we elect a president, it is his responsibility to ensure that he will respect the structures we have, he will respect the systems we have, and he will empower the people. Now listen, your job is to make sure the systems are working. And when the systems are working, you do not interfere with the system. That is why in overseas, a police officer can arrest a top politician.
That's true.
And no one can interfere. Why? Because the systems are working. Somebody is making sure that it works. And that somebody is the leader who has strengthened the institutions. Unfortunately, our politicians have really dented our institutions, damaged our institutions, polarized our institutions to their benefit. And we must ensure that we have strong institutions with strong leadership. That is why Obama said, you don't need a strong man, you need strong institutions. Institutions that will hold you accountable. Institutions that will demand that you are doing that which is right. So for me, to some extent, I commend President Mahama. He started well, and applying this oral, where he's holding people responsible. I mean, officers and politicians who have come into office, and if you are perceived to have probably mismanaged the finances and the resources of the nation, come on, you need to be called to account. They should hold you responsible. I applaud the president making sure that people should account for their stewardship. They must account for whatever they have done in office, because there is always a day of accountability, and somebody should hold them responsible. I think we should all applaud the president that he promised it, he's working towards it. This is the only way by which we can strengthen our institutions and hold people to account.
Do you think, with all that you've talked about, the religious sector will be relevant? And if it is going to be relevant, what role do you think the religious sector is supposed to play in ensuring that all these challenges we've talked about are fixed?
I think the religious sector can be still relevant and effectively relevant if they rise above partisan politics. You know, unfortunately, almost all the institutions have been polarized.
That's right.
And it has also gotten into the segment of the religious terrain that religious leaders are quite polarized also. There are times when you come into, you even believe, sometimes when you come into decision making,
Right.
you realize that people are divided because they don't want to be very firm on certain things based upon their, their affection
Allegiance, that's
to,
right.
to a particular party.
Yeah.
So even in the religious settings, we have been affected. Instead of religious leaders rising above partisan politics, rising above and holding institutions accountable, unfortunately, that is not what we see. Today, our segments are not even running for and ensuring for this galamsey thing. It looks like we are not trumpeting it
Exactly,
enough.
no, yeah.
Okay, it looks like we are not trumpeting it enough. We have major institutions that the Christian Council, Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. We have the National Association of Charismatic Churches, NAC,
yeah.
and what have you. We will expect that a lot more would come from them. But you see, it appears that the only institution that is seriously holding government into account now is the Cali Bishop Conference.
That's true. Very true.
So right now, where I sit, my hope is only in the Catholic Bishop Conference and the TUC. Because we now believe that it must take these two institutions to deal with this destruction of our water bodies.
Right.
Because if they also go to sleep, 35 million Ghanaians are doomed.
Yeah.
Because what we will expect from these, other Christian bodies, we are not seeing them exerting that force on government. Because, President Mahama promised that, look, he's going to look into it to make sure that there will be, they have asked for a state of emergency to repeal the LI. Now they are saying they will now have to look into it to find out which one is acceptable or not. The question is, repeal it, declare state of emergency. That hasn't been done. Both the Pentecostal Council, Christian Council, we are a little bit soft towards that. Nobody is doing anything. It is only recent the Cali Bishop Conference have gone back to the president and say, do something about it. So our only hope is the Cali Bishop Conference and the TUC. Unfortunately, just towards the end of Bernardo's reign, they back out. But you see, they must exert pressure on government that this is a life-threatening matter.
Right.
Either we deal with it or we are doomed.
That's right.
One professor, Amma Kluche, made a statement. I saw the post. She said, all that she needs is 5 helicopters, some gowns, and then, 5 helicopters. She needs the gowns. And within 2 weeks, she will clear all those who are dealing with, destroying our water bodies. And I said, kudos, I agree with her. That's what we should do. We should wipe them off. Do we have to allow just the few, less than 1 million,
That's right.
to kill
all
us,
of us.
to kill all
Our
the
next
35 million
generation,
and allow them to leave? Let's kill them
That's right.
so that we can save the 35 million people alive. So if it means going there, spraying all of them, let's get rid of all of them so that the 35 million will leave. Listen, the water that runs into my home right now in the tank.
Yeah.
Recently, they washed it. We washed it 5 months ago, and then we decided to do it just after 4 months. The residue in the water tank was more than chocolate. Like the color was more than that of chocolate. This is water coming to Tema.
That's right.
This is what we are dealing with. It's a life-threatening matter. So it's not a question of a human right. It's a question of human survival. And if we don't do anything now, 35 million would perish. And this is where the Christian councils, the Christian Council, the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, they must rise up. The Apostolic Fathers, the NAC, they must rise up and join the Catholic Bishop Conference and speak. This is what must be done. And this must be the voice of religious leaders to ensure that we are pushing for an agenda to be achieved. Unfortunately, we are polarized. This is the demon of partisan politics. And that is how far the demon of partisan politics have brought into our lives, that we cannot speak truth to power.
That's right.
Because of the fact that, last time the previous government was there were issues, you didn't agree with me. Now another government is in, I cannot agree with you. I think we should rise above that.
Talking about rising above that, there's one thing that came into my mind. It's quite interesting. I remember a couple of years back, courtesy you, I had the privilege of addressing the leaders of the religion or the Christian faith. And I remember after doing my presentation, the bishop who took over from me, I was stressing on the fact that religious leaders and the Christian pastors should exhibit some level of John the Baptist spirit to speak truth to power. And I remember one of the bishops, right after my presentation, came in and said that if you are supposed to exhibit the John the Baptist spirit, you will die before your time. So be careful. And I was taken aback anyway, but I thought, that it is time for us to be speaking truth to power. And you can't get any, weightier voice than that coming from the religious or the Christian or the religious sector or section. My question here is, why has the religious entities in this country allowed partisan infiltration when it is expected to rather be seen as the voice of conscience? Is it money? Is it lack of principles? What exactly is the issue?
Well, I think the introduction of partisan politics or political democracy, we didn't know when exactly, I'm not too sure when exactly they were able to infiltrate. But I think our politicians have done extremely well to really weaken our whole setup of institutions. And I'm not too sure, but I see no nation has developed based on partisan ideologies, partisan politics. No nation.
Sure.
And if we as a nation want to develop, then we should all rise above partisan politics. America can play games with partisan politics. They're over 270 years old, and they're highly developed and an industrialized nation. Most of the developed nations in Europe can play with partisan politics. We are just 68 years. We are emerging. We are not yet developed. I mean, we have so much to pursue. So we cannot adopt a system where only the few seem to be enjoying. I think recently I heard Professor Costa saying that only just this political class seem to have benefited from the political democracy that we have.
That's true.
Only the political class. And the political class may be less than 10%. Sure. So why should 90% suffer for the 10% just to enjoy the wealth of political democracy? We need to really examine our governance system. Some of us strongly believe that for 35 years or 7 years that we have practiced this political democracy, it hasn't helped us. We haven't made any significant progress. Only a small class of the political class are beneficiaries of this political, democracy we have. So we need to go back, examine what can we do and how can we improve this system. Democracy was inflicted on Africa. Democracy was inflicted on us. It wasn't part of our system of governance system. Some of us believe that we should possibly start thinking about a union government where you don't need party A or party B or party D or party Z, but you will have to bring in the best brains, the best skilled people to run and govern the country. In so doing, when people are in government, they will all want to contribute to national development. Right. But as we speak now, all that NPP is waiting for is to grab power in 2028.
That's right.
And all that they are desiring is the fall of NDC, that NDC will not succeed. Sure. Now, when NPP was in power, it was the prayer of NDC that they will fail miserably so that they will come in. Yeah. Now, as much as you want the ruling government or ruling party to fail, they forget that it is Ghana that is failing. So you see, we take one step back forward, two steps backwards. We are never getting better. Some of us have advocated that perhaps we should start looking for a new system of governance. If we have practiced this for God knows how long, is it 35 years, 37 years, 36 years? If we've practiced this for all these years, let's sit down, let's analyze, let's evaluate. Has this democracy helped us? Have we been better off? If no, if not, what can we do? What kind of governance system can we adopt for Ghana and for Africa that will enhance our development? This is what we must call for. Call the academia. Call them and let them go into a conference and define a new governance system that will work for us. Believe you me, that minute political class would not be happier about it.
That's true.
Because they are the beneficiaries.
That's right.
Because you find someone in political appointment, and in 4 years, he was renting a house. Yeah. In 4 years, he has 3 houses. In 4 years, he has 3 houses. He has fleet of vehicles and filling stations and what have you. Where did he get those monies from? So the 90% should not sit down to allow the political class, the few, to enjoy the wealth of our society. We must call for an evaluation system of our governance system. This democracy hasn't worked for us to a large extent. What can we do? What system do we have to adopt to really find a better system that can work for the national development of everybody? That is what I think we should consider. Otherwise, the political class will still infiltrate into our system and keep on working and making sure that we will never get the unity we want. One time, one of my nephews, last year when he was finishing university, he said he needed to register for NPP card.
Right.
And he was also going to register for NDC. And I said, for why? Why? He said, well, if I don't have that, he wasn't too sure which party was going to win at that time. He said he wouldn't get any employment. I said to myself, so is that where we have gotten to?
That's right.
That even in the universities, you must have a party card before you can be employed.
That's right.
Instead of looking at me whether I have the skills, the capacity, the ability, and employ me as a Ghanaian, I need to produce a party card before I can be employed. This should tell us our democratic governance system as we have now hasn't yielded the necessary dividends we expect in terms of national development. And therefore, we must really examine where we are and where we want to go. What governance system do we want that will benefit everybody and will not exclude anybody?
That's sad. I mean, talking about your nephew, I have always had the opportunity to say that we live in a country where you are treated not based on your competence, but you are treated based on the political affiliation that you can find yourself in. And so no one treats you because you are a Ghanaian, but you are treated because of the political party card that you hold. And that is so dangerous for us as a country. What is worse is that it takes away even those who decide that I don't want to belong to any political party. What it simply means is that you are no more, you are not even part of the system if you don't want to do that. I'm going to ask you one more question, and the question has to do with whether or not you think we branding ourselves as a religious country has led us to nowhere, and what you think we should do. Do we, take away religion, whether Christianity, Islamic, whatever? Do we take it away from our language and then focus on us being a secular country and focusing on technology and saying that this is exactly what we need to do. But you think about it. Let me go through some of the messages that has come, and then I'll come back to you for you to give me that answer. This one says that, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Religion has nothing to do with the challenges, curses, wickedness, ignorance, lack of education, and the ability to think as human by a gross section of Ghana. A gross section of the country is simply illiterate and still refuse to learn. And this is coming from Hula, Gomado. Okay. Mr. Wilson, are the Arabs, Hindus, Christians from the West not religious? The leadership of Africa, and for that matter, Ghana, my country, can't just think. And most of this leadership are still swimming in low complex and think the whites are still gods. Okay, you didn't add your name. What we practice in Ghana is not religion. We practice religious manipulation. Pastors and imams use religion or religious fanaticism to manipulate the minds and hearts of their followers. The existence of religion in Ghana has done more harm than good. And this is coming from Imoru Abdallah from Bongo in the Upper East region. Hello, Mr. Wilson. These challenges are all based on common sense, but not religion. If your leadership is, okay, I don't want to use that word. Okay, thank you. Abbas, thank you. My name is Ibrahim Shafiu. You are doing a good job. All right, thank you. This is Kwame. Kwame Nkrumah was the true opposite of the wolves opposed on us. The current leadership of those that just left us as a party is a slave to the West. They only see money and stealing from the poor as a sign of obedience to their masters. You didn't add your name. My name is Very Reverend Prophet Anthony Quatin from Dome Christ Power Miracle Mission Church. Yes, Christianity is a religion. It's a monotheistic faith based on the life, teachings, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Christians believe in one God and follow the Bible, which includes the Old and New Testaments. Some key aspects of Christianity include belief in Jesus Christ as the Son of God and Savior, following the teachings of the Bible, practices like prayer, worship, and sacraments like baptism and communion, emphasis on love, forgiveness, and compassion. Christianity has many denominations and interpretations, but its core is the belief in Jesus Christ and the Bible. All right, Bishop, thank you. This one says, hello, Mr. Wilson. All these challenges are all, all these challenges are all based on common sense and law enforcement. The right leaders are themselves looters, dirty, cheats, and irresponsible. If your leadership, okay, this is from Gomado. All right. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. God, by his nature, has endowed us with wisdom to change our world. I strongly believe that our religious life is not reflecting God's principles in our governance system. We need change of mind. And this is coming from Reverend Justice Aposa from Who. Mr. Wilson, we had it all wrong when religious leaders started accepting appointments from the politicians. All right, you didn't add your name. Hello, Mr. Wilson. Good evening. Kindly permit me to make the following submissions. Ghana and Africa as a whole is not developed to our satisfaction simply because we've been deceived to accept a system of governance that is doing more harm than good to Africa. Therefore, no matter what Christianity does, we may continue to remain underdeveloped. Partisan politics, or the so-called multi-party democracy, has been imposed on us so that we may continue to be underdeveloped to the advantage of those who impose it on us. Those who even impose partisan politics on us are suffering from it. President Trump was nearly killed because of partisan politics. The best system for Africa is nothing else but theocracy. Thanks. And this is coming from Reverend Father Ignatius James Yao Amponsa from Achem Intronan. Okay, I hope I got it right. Good evening, Emmanuel. Please tell Senior Backhouse that I'm enjoying his presentation. Senior Backhouse. Backhouse. Okay. All right. I'll come for you to tell me what that means. But good evening, Emmanuel. Please tell Senior Backhouse that I'm enjoying his presentation. I'm always grateful to him for the pieces of advice he gave. And this is Edmond Odai Mensah at Spinters Road. Yes, Christian nations have failed to establish, one, the foundation, and that is Psalm 11:3, and two, the principle of the kingdom as set out by Yahweh. We fail as leaders thinking the president is the only leader. Leadership is at all levels of life, from the schools, the workplace, the home, the first born in the family, etc., etc., are all leaders. And this is coming from Mawunyo from Accra. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Ghana under His Excellency John Mahama must do and take a drastic action on this galamsey and the different stakes ongoing in this country. He should know that the Ghanaian has politicized everything, and partisanship is destroying this nation. Do as it benefits the majority and kill the evil in the society for the majority to live. His Excellency John Mahama, whatever you do, you will be hated and be criticized. So do not look at that. Think of Ghana and kill the minority evils. All right, you didn't add your name. Good evening, Mr. Host. I believe religion has helped Ghana to sustain its peace. The peace that has helped us to tolerate one another. Ghana has many ethnic groups and tribes, and it is the Christianity that has held us together this far. When I look around our neighbors in this sub-Saharan Africa who are not religious or they are not Christians, we can all see the numbers of exodus into our country from countries of wars and famine. And that tells us that our country would have been without Christianity. I know there are challenges which I still don't understand and agree with Bishop concerning managing our wealth due to politics and other non-believing factors. All right, you didn't add your name. Mr. Wilson, tell Bishop that the pastors and other church leaders have their people to make their money from them. Do expect them to tell the truth, so they will lose making their money from them. That will not work because they themselves are not professionally trained to transcend a profession to their members. Okay, Mr. Wilson, wow, what a brain. God continue to bless Mother Ghana with this kind of personalities. I really adore his submission. You are making reference to our guest, Bishop Dr. Samuel. Really, our country, Ghana, is polarized. I'm a teacher. I would love him to look at the confusions, the confusions in the education sector. God bless you more. All right, thank you, Mr. Wilson. If we truly love God by following his command and principles and putting it into effect, I believe Ghana would have been a better place. You won't think about harming the nation. And this is again coming from Reverend Justice Aposa from Ho. Religion is not the solution to our woes. It has become a tool in the hand of politicians and so-called men of God. The answer to our challenges as a country is within us, not religion. And this is coming from Robert. The cost of the country is based on our so-called pastors and our chiefs. Okay? All right, okay. Mr. Wilson, Bishop should be the advisor to the president. He's so deep. And this is coming from Prophet Nana Ofori. Yes, Prophet Nana Ofori. All right, great. Thank you. Great lessons coming from Bishop. Common sense is indeed downplayed in the practice of Christianity as a result of selfish gain from some of the religious leaders, unfortunately. And this is peace from Tema. A lot of your messages. I'll see if there's time. I'll come back to it again. But I need to come back to Bishop. Bishop, so we're talking.
Yeah.
These are some of the views that has come. Do you think, and as I was asking, do you think that we must stop deceiving ourselves by describing ourselves as a religious country and then go into the secular and say that we don't even need religion? Let us go and say we are a secular country and we are going by principles. We are going by common sense.
You know, There is nothing wrong with religion, but there is something wrong with a human being. The problem is not religion. It has to do with the human life. It is just like having a cake of soap, and then someone comes in and tells you, well, Emmanuel, this soap has no potent, no strength, can't wash and can't take care of me. And this guy hasn't washed for probably 2 months. He hasn't washed down for 2 months. He's smelling, everything is so bad around him. And he's saying that this soap is not potent enough. Question, has he applied it? No. If he's able to go to the washroom and apply the soap on him, he will now know that the soap has the power to change him, to wash him, and to cleanse him. There's nothing wrong with the religious principles.
Right.
What is wrong is with a human being who has the difficulty to allow the principles to be translated through his life so that it can reflect at the workplace. It can reflect in whatever he's doing and will allow those principles to reflect. So that is where we find ourselves. The inability to allow these principles to show wherever we find ourselves. Every human being born of a woman came into the world with 4 things. We call it the GAT. G for gift, A for ability, P for profession, and T for talent.
Right.
You are supposed to use these things to change your world, your society, wherever you find yourself, whether in government or in education or in the industry. You are supposed to use that to translate and to transform the lives of the people around you. So the problem is that we've not allowed these principles to actually work through us. Hence, we think the religion is probably the cause. It's not. Now, if you take religion out, it's just like any other country. Religion brings values. You are guided by values. But you see, as I speak now, if I should ask you, Emmanuel, if I should ask you, do we have a set of values that drives us as a country?
No.
It's no. If I should ask the president, what are our national values? Ask the 270 parliamentarians. Give me the set of national values that drives us. Kneel. So the point is, values will help enable you to take the right decisions.
Right.
Values will allow you to demonstrate love for country, love for the nation, love for the things of your country. Through values, you will protect your water bodies. Through values, you will make sure that you put your nation first. Unfortunately, we don't have these values. What we need is what I have called, I said, we need socio-cultural transformation, where we will develop a set of values. We'll come up with a set of values. These values will begin to change our attitude. Once we develop these values, you know what where we should start from? Go to KG. Start from KG. KG1, KG2, KG3, up to secondary school. So the kid who will be born today, when he starts KG1, and we have national set of values, put them into a curriculum for that group. Start teaching. Go to class 1. You teach them up to class 6, JHS, to secondary school. That kid who starts KG1, in 20 years, he'll be completing university.
Right.
And in 20 years, through this national set of values, we will produce the new Ghanaian with the right attitude, with a love for country, being committed and being patriotic. You see, the generation we have now, those who are 40 years or 50 years and above, please, we shouldn't waste much more energy on them. There is nothing that can transform them. They form their attitude and their behavior already. We should go back. Any national leader must have a national vision that in the next 20 years, I will produce the new Ghanaian with a new set of values. And these values will allow you that when you finish university, you would make sure that every decision you take, whichever ministry you find yourself, you'll be guided by this vision and values that is a love for country. So you wouldn't allow Chinese or foreigners to come into your forest and destroy your forest and then make money and then they leave. These values will cause a police officer to arrest you because these values have been embedded in you right from the day of your birth till you finish university. So we must have an intentional vision of transforming the country. The reset agenda by President Mahama is brilliant.
Right.
But there are things that has to be put together. Bring all traditional leaders together.
Right.
Okay? Ask them to identify cultural practices that haven't helped our national development. That should be very easy. When you bring this National House of Chiefs together, give them about 1 week, and they must identify cultural practices that haven't helped our nation. You know, the traditional leaders are the custodians of our culture.
Very true.
So once they identify them, they would be the people who would go back and say, these practices, we will deal with it, and they are not going to be part of our culture. Then you bring stakeholders together, key stakeholders from traditional, the Christian community, the TUC, and all the various professional groups. Let us have a forum to identify what would be our national values. It could be 12 principles. Once we adopt them, then we will be guided by these principles, because values would definitely transform a society.
That's great. There's one thing you said, and it brings about some conversations that we've had, or I have had with some people over the past period. You said religion is not really the issue, it's the human.
Yeah.
The arguments that others have is that religion produces the human. And so if there's problem with the human, then it means that the religion has a problem. Because religion, as we indicated in my intro, religion, whether we like it or not, influences significantly the thinking of the people. And so if at the end of the day there's problem with the people, it means that religion, that is where the problem is coming from. They are not giving the people the kind of information, using your word, the kind of common sense principles that they are supposed to give. So I think it goes hand in hand, but I think the foundation starts with the religion. There's this argument about, and you talked about the school, and I'm happy you talked about schools, orientation from schools. People talk about we getting back the mission schools.
Yeah.
Back to the mission sector, or the churches, the religious organizations. What's your take on that? I
strongly believe that. I agree with them, because you see, we are a product of some of these mission schools.
Right.
And these values were inculcated during our school days. So if we give it back to them, they will be able to help shape the direction and of the next generation of people that we want to produce. So I agree. But you see, religion gives birth to values. Whatever a man believes in and does, is being managed by the values. So once we are able to demand value-based leadership, values that will drive us, you see, that values will definitely change who you are.
That's true.
So again, the problem is not with the religion, the religious teachings. Okay. It has to do with the human being. Now, if you put a glass of water down for about 3 weeks or a month,
right,
and then you take a rod or a nice teaspoon,
right,
you stir it, you will begin to realize that particles are coming out from the bottom of the glass.
That's true.
Yet, looking at the glass from a distance, it's a clean water.
That's right.
Until you stir it, you wouldn't know that, oh man, I didn't realize that it has residue.
That's true.
Because it has gathered dust from the air and has settled down. Now, it was only the introduction of the stirring of the spoon that revealed how unclean the water is. So that is how human beings are. Human beings by nature appears from the public, from the outside, okay.
That's right.
Until they are tested by issues, then you can begin to see the ungodly nature of human beings. The values that the Christian faith espouses would begin to shape the human being when he allows that to take place in his life. We must trumpet values, propose a value bill, and demand that Parliament will pass a value-based act that will drive our country. And then I keep saying, take it back to KG, start the teaching. 20 years from now, we will have the new Ghanaian whose philosophy will be love for God, love for country, a patriotic citizen.
That's solid.
That is what we need.
That's great. We need a value bill, a bill that must go to Parliament for us to enact.
Yeah.
So there becomes an act, and then it binds.
Exactly.
Particularly to orient the younger generation, the less than 40 years.
Yeah.
Maybe
from 30 years
from
below.
30 years below,
Yeah.
so that we can have them. Yeah.
30, 40 and 50, they are beyond redemption. They are beyond redemption. You know what? As a matter of fact, God has given up on them already.
Oh my goodness. You mean God has given up on some of us already?
God has given up on the 50 and above, the Ghanaians.
Bishop, I'll come to you to wrap up with your very last thoughts or communication to us, because we've gone past the time. But let me still 1 or 2 seconds to go through 1 or 2 messages that has come. This one says, and this is coming from Dr. Lord J.J. Gowans, a lecturer at KNUST, and he's also an executive member of the Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana. He says, I'm really enjoying the conversation. God bless you, Mr. Wilson, and the guests. A major problem in our society is religious and traditional leaders who intercede or beg for people who violate our laws. Today, many corrupt government officials are asking such leaders to intervene for them. We humbly ask such leaders to refrain from such interferences and allow the laws to work. And I agree perfectly.
I agree.
I have really encountered this before. A number of people who have gotten to me to lead them to some people for them to be, pardoned and all that. But let me just read probably the very last one. There are so many messages, but the very last one. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please. Now, lack of wisdom, vision, and faith of our leadership becomes our main problem in Ghana. So our leaders today needs core values and salvation. I don't know if salvation is needed in this situation, but probably, Doc, your final words.
Well, I think what we should all trumpet and ask the religious organizations,
Yeah.
Christian Council, Ghana Pentecostal Council, Catholic Bishop Conference, we must begin to impress upon government to develop a value-based act, and then a national vision that will drive our country. If we are able to help develop value system, believe you me, no matter who we put in office, even if you put the devil in the presidency, our country can still be better, because the value system will check whoever will be there. And then the value system will produce the kind of quality services we desire that will enhance the human development of our people.
That's right. I think if for nothing at all, one of the things we all need to associate ourselves with moving forward is to ensure that we have what we call the value-based act. Is that what you said? The value-based act. We should have a bill in process, and then ensure that we have an act. When we have this act, at least if we've done nothing or we're able to achieve nothing at all, if we have this act, it will help save the future of this country.
Absolutely.
It will. And I really believe in that. And that is what Politics and Beyond is all about, ensuring that the next generation is secured, ensuring that our future is secured. That is the most important. I told you, of course, I need not repeat, because you know that this has always been your transformative program platform, where we discuss matters of national interest, where we discuss the future, we discuss how to secure the future of our country for the sake of our next generation. Because just like Bishop said, some of us, God has given up on us already because of our age. But for the sake of our next generation, we need not keep quiet. We must ensure that we protect the future and the sanctity of this country. All too soon, this is where time will allow us. I want to say on your behalf a very big thank you to Bishop. Bishop, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm sure at the appropriate time we'll have Bishop again for us to discuss into details other areas of interest and benefit, mutual benefits for the sake of this country. Next week, just around this time, and I'm making reference to next week, Monday, 8 p.m., we are going to meet again with another insightful episode. So we meet again next week. My name, as you know, is Emmanuel Wilson Jr., the Chief Crusader Against Corruption here in Ghana. And all I can say for now, till we meet next week, is good night.